The starter decks for DragonBall Fusion World have been fully revealed, and with that, we must absolutely be jumping into some gameplay. Hey everybody, Espira, and we're back with another DragonBall Fusion World video. And with the starter decks revealed, I thought it was the perfect time to make sure we get in there and start getting ready for potential tournaments going into the future. The first kickoff will be Battle Hour, of course, where we'll have a starter deck tournament, but then moving past that, naturally, we'll have to keep an eye on to see how impactful these starter deck cards will be as we slowly get reveals for set 1. With that said, I put together a tabletop simulator mod, which is very exciting, and I release it to everybody. So if you want to get in on some testing before we eventually get the client, who knows when news for that comes out, links will be down below in the Discord. All the links to the TTS and to proxy files and all that kind of stuff is in there. So huge shout outs to the community members also who helped there. But if you guys want access to any of that, you guys can find that below. Today we're doing something a little bit different with gameplay videos. Usually I like to do the back and forths between me and my friends whenever we do this kind of thing. But with this being on Twitch and being a little bit more freeform, sometimes we're chatting about random stuff as we're kind of playing and figuring things out. I just kind of figured I would do some voiceover commentary for this. Not something that I typically do, but if this is something that you guys enjoy, you guys should let me know and I'll keep on doing it. So with that said, enjoy. Make sure to stay to the end because I'll give my little debriefing over kind of how I think the match went at the end and what I'm thinking of the decks now that we were able to get some reps in. So with that said, I'll catch you guys on the sign off. Enjoy the gameplay. Alrighty, everybody. So we're jumping into the seat here. Myself playing Broly and Brian playing with Vegeta. So Broly having being the ramp deck, and I'm going second here. And unfortunately, I think Broly really wants to be the deck that goes first, just because you need those 3 specified to be able to use strength to be able to ramp early. The energy marker doesn't help you there. So being the first to do that is definitely what you're aiming to do. And here I have to charge a boss monster because unfortunately seeing the 2 early does means I don't have any combo power early. And the thought process here was more so that the 0 would be a lot more detrimental because you need early protection because you need to get to 8. In hindsight, I probably should have kept it in my hand, but nevertheless, we kind of move forward. We use the 1-drop to be able to find ourselves a Paragus because the crutch of the deck is being able to use Paragus's ability to be able to reuse the blocker over and over and over again to be able to manage the early offense. The problem is that a lot of these decks, just like we see with the Goten here, have ways to be able to deal with the blocker. There's a Frieza game that we play later on that kind of showcases that. And here we see the Goten that again, like it's just, the blocker never sticks on board. So unfortunately, the recursion plan for Broly is really rough just because so many decks have such easy ways to get rid of a single blocker while keeping their tempo going. And that's the biggest thing. They don't really have to take a turn off to be able to do it. My hand size is getting pretty good though. And I think the thing I've noticed is that it's not too hard for Broly to be able to sustain a good hand size early. But in the late game, once you're forced to awaken, at that point, you're not plussing off of your leader ability, but you're only ever cycling a card is where it gets a little bit tough. But we do kind of have the setup of the giant strength and later on into Broly here, which is very nice. So it means we just need to go a couple of more turns and hopefully we can kind of turn the tide here. The tempo is definitely on Vegeta's side, but we have a position to do things here. So we go ahead and charge, we swing with our leader, and at least now we have a target to be able to swing into that won't be giving our opponent cards. So here, we're costing Brian a card to be able to keep his Goten on board. He gets to sustain board presence, of course, but we're in a position here where we're going to be able to do something. And here we do get the look, we get the whiff, and unfortunately, we send a Turles to the bottom of the deck. And I think the biggest thing with the starter decks is that you only get 2 of each SR. And ramp is always a strategy that is so incredibly reliant on needing to find its big boss monsters as payoffs to ramp. So thankfully we have one in our hand, but missing the Turles is tough because Turles is not only a good boss monster, it's a 30k crit, but it's a bridge that gets us to Broly, which would have helped a lot here, especially one that can apply pressure and crit pressure, which is a really important card. So I think that makes all the difference here, but regardless, player 1-drop, whiff, don't get anything out of it, and then we go from there, combo away the 5k, and then we plays out the Gohan, and this is huge, man. The fact that it's a 3-cost 35k is massive. The leader already is buggy enough, and Broly is a deck that excels at getting 1 blocker out. So this deck having the ability to be able to get out those 2 big bodies makes it really, really tough. Naturally, we have a good position to be able to sustain here if we get to our 8-drop, but that's going to take a little bit more work. Here I continue swinging into the Goten just to provide more opportunity to be able to draw cards and hopefully keep his board up. And here I decide maybe comboing actually does help, but he does combo out of it. I don't mind comboing with the 1-drops because you can kind of get them back with tempo using Paragus. I have a head theory here that maybe playing Paragus tempo and you just play a bunch of Paraguses and you're constantly recursing the 0 as combo, not necessarily to block, but you just like attack with a Paragus, get a 5k combo, now you're 20k, you do that a couple of times, and then maybe you leave 1 on board to chill as a blocker to force your opponent to have to go into it. But either way, here we use the giant strength, able to ramp me up, and then we hold again. And the energy marker is kind of a seriously weird thing here. It does allow us to go into our Broly a turn early, which is kind of nice. but it doesn't alleviate any of our other plays really. And I think that's what the deck is missing, is just kind of things that you feel like you want to do outside of being ranked up to 5, 6, or 7. You do have 6-cost vanillas in the deck, which helps, but it's not the easiest thing. Here we see Gohan swing for massive big 35k swings here. Benefit being that right now Brian's not awakened, but he's definitely going to get there as he keeps on taking life with Goten. And here we're unfortunately forced to awaken. I was trying to hold off my awaken for so long, but thankfully here we're able to awaken, and we awaken into a Turtles. Unfortunately, in my couple of games across having played the deck, I never even managed to play Turtles. So very unfortunate on my end there. It's a card that definitely would have helped me apply pressure. It would have made a big difference actually in later on in the game if we see here now after a couple of turns. But here we go. We got the awaken now from Brian, and thankfully we are a 25k lead, which means usually he's gonna have to ditch a card to be able to deal damage to us. But I'm gonna say I think these starter decks are very well balanced to play into each other. They have a lot of tools available to all of them to kind of make these kinds of things work. So we do have a 25k combo in the form of the extra card here. We're of the understanding that the energy marker counts as an energy until it's gone. So I think technically we're at 6 energy right now, which means that the effect should proc. That's something that could be corrected once we get a better understanding of the rules and we actually get the rule book. But that's how we're playing it out right now. It serves as an energy until it's gone. Regardless, though, we're in a tough position. Blue actually has some really good options to hit high. I mean, you have the 35k Gohan that can swing for a lot. You've got the 35k leader, and then you've got the 35k double striker. So it puts you in some tough positions, but we're now getting to a point where we can start stabilizing. We are now at 7, 1 turn away from being able to play the Broly. And unfortunately, this is where it's like you can get an early hand size with Broly because, of course, you swing with your lead and you can kind of play that in a way that your hand size is always high. But this is where my hand really starts dwindling. So we're going to notice that. Here, I was going to play the strength and then realize, wait, actually, it doesn't matter because all this deck ever cares about is going to 8, and I only ever have 1 Broly. So once I play the 8-drop Broly, realistically, I can start then chipping away my energy to actually draw a card. So that's my consideration here in terms of whether I play that or I don't play that and kind of where I'm going with my tempo plays. Here we go into Paragus, and I think this is where I shift my motivations to being a Paragus tempo deck because I think I realize I just have the benefit of at least trying to force cards out of Brian's hands here instead of trying to hold up a blocker that realistically is never going to block, at least until that Goten is gone. And every deck, I think at this point, has a card that's really good against that. You have the red deck that can neg the blocker away. You've got the blue deck that's able to bounce it, and you've got Frieza, which is able to exhaust it. So here we see me continue on with those plays. I tried to do 2 at a time. That didn't work, obviously. And this is kind of where I come to the realization that you can only have 1, and that's where I'm thinking, okay, maybe we combo, maybe we use the cards in a certain way that allows us to tempo more so than not. But here I do try to clean up the board just because there's too much going on. And unfortunately, I do need to secure my life at least for 1 more turn until I can get the Broly ongoing. Shifted back over to Brian's turn here. We do have the energy advantage. Now we just need bombs to play. And I think, you know, had we a hand of like Turtles, Broly, etc., I think this game would look very different at the moment. But I mean, hey, Brian's only got 3 cards in hand, you know, so we're not in a terrible position here. We do see the Vegeta get played, which will get rid of our blocker, and then he swings in with a massive Goten. We're able to get ourselves out of it, and then here comes the swing with the leader and the Goku also. We can take a damage here, but I'm kind of a little iffy on it, just because there's the double strike there. But the benefit being that if we get rid of this Vegeta, he's already charged his other Vegeta, which means there's only 2 in the deck. So we don't have to worry about double strike damage if we feel like we can deal with this one. And here I think we're just going to super combo out of it to make our lives a little bit easier. So we dump away a super combo on our side, plus another Paragus to be able to jump over that. And knowing that we're able to deal with this board moving forward is going to feel really, really good. Then it's just about surviving the top decks from Brian's side. So see if we can get ourselves at that position. We do have a super combo in hand, which means it helps our defenses. This is 20k on our turn. So we'll see how we can get there. We play out the Broly, make sure we get rid of that double striker. Most important thing to get rid of, because we are at 2 life, so we want to make sure Brian has to work for it and force cards out of his hand. The energy marker is now gone because it has been used. And now we're in a position where we can start popping our energy, getting cards in hand, and not feeling terrible about it because we played our boss monster. At 45k, it almost super guarantees you're always getting in for damage. So here at this point, I use Broly to clean up the board. I think it's much more important in that scenario. And thankfully, Gohan is only a 35k on the opponent, on their turn. So get that benefit there. I opt to not attack with Broly. And honestly, I think at this point in the game, I do actually stabilize. But I think I make a couple of decisions here that may probably have led me to losing the game. And I think it's because I was being too conservative with my plays. Unfortunately, I think I was in a position where I was like, I never want to give him cards, because if I give him cards, I'm in a sticky position. I think I need to play this slowly. And I think this is where Turles would have helped a lot, because Turles is the card I can apply with pressure and never give him cards in hand. And that's really the difference here, is that I can't afford to give him cards in hand. Even if I have a giant Broly that's able to deal, massive damage, I felt like I was never in a position to be able to do that, which is why this Vegeta felt really good. Like, all right, cool, I got a 20k crit body, I'm able to get there. The problem is that I have to protect that crit body afterwards, which means I'm losing cards in hand, which is less defense power on my side. So it's just balancing out where I feel like I can and can't attack to mitigate my opponent's hand advantage. And I think this is where the skill set for Dragon Ball has really come to shine, and is definitely somewhere that I need to work a little bit better on. I started playing Masters back when archetypes are a little bit more powerful, which means you didn't have to have the basics of being really good at combo and hand management tied down, where Brian definitely has that up on me. I think he's much better at identifying when you should combo and when you should not combo, and by how much. So big ups to Brian there, and it's definitely a skill that I myself need to learn here. Either way, we're able to kind of chip away at Brian's hand. Brian only has one card left in hand. And now we're in a position where, do we bother attacking? Do we not? Not entirely sure. The benefit here is that Boo couldn't attack because I was 25k lead, and that's where, we really get Broly shining, is the fact that, all right, sick. I'm in a position where my opponent does not want to waste combo on his little guys, which means I can mitigate the amount of attackers he has here. And I feel pretty decent. I'm like, okay, no more ways to get rid of my blockers. I can play Paraguses, which means I can, get my blockers in, which is pretty nice on that front. So here we're going to combo and try to chip away at that. No cards in his hand, which is kind of nice, right? You're trading a card in hand for a card in hand in that sense. So here, just making sure that we pop that to be able to draw our cards and go from there, getting our blocker, which is pretty key here. And then I'm not too sure if we start swinging at this point. We probably should. Our opponent has 0 cards in hand. There's no reason not to try to chip in some damage somehow. So we get in with Broly, give Brian a card, and then I actually might pass here. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, it does look like we pass on this front, and this is where I think the game might have gotten away from me. I think I have enough defense potential where you just like swing with Broly and then you hold a blocker and you have 40k combo in hand, right? I think that probably would have been enough depending on what I end up giving Brian in life. So I think one turn escaped me here, but regardless, we're able to block, and we're able to do that again next turn if our Paragus is able to survive, which is a pretty big deal here. So it's just about what is coming up here. And the defensive powers are much more available in this game for sure. I think the fact that super combos don't draw, but they're guaranteed 20k. The fact that one cost 15k combos with the extra cards are much more reliable in this game are a pretty big deal. I think the difference maker here, there's a couple of cards we didn't see. We didn't really get to see a second one of our extra cards that gives us too much combo. We didn't see Turles, which I think makes a big difference. But either way here, we're able to play out a Broly. And I think I'm at a point now where I realize, okay, now we really kind of got to go for it. I don't know if there was value in going for this Boo realistically. I think it would have been better used over at the leader, but deal with the board. And now we're going to try to use these Brolys to try to get in for damage. See if we can kind of close out the game here. So kick off with the first one. Brian takes it. Then I'm considering what makes the most sense in terms of getting cards out of his hand. There's a sequence here in which we can go for Nappa and then go for game, or we just go for Broly first. So we swing with the first Broly, he takes that, and then we swing with the Broly again, or we swing into the Broly, put him at 1, and now it's just kind of what do we do with that? So we do opt to combo here and try to force cards out of his hand, see if we can maybe get there, and then maybe push after that. So he does have the Galagun, which is very strong here. Obviously is able to push him into numbers that make it very hard to deal damage. Broly is big. It forces a lot of an opponent's hand, but these extra cards definitely help a lot. And I feel like it's the defensive cards in this game have really risen up to a point where you're not sacrificing as much hand to protect yourself defensively. Whereas alternatively with Masters, everything having been a 5k in that game, definitely makes it so you've done more. So the decision point here is, okay, do I hold for combo? Do I try to apply and hope pressure and hope he doesn't have the cards in hand? I can attack with Nappa. I can get some combo power out there if I need to. So here at this point, it's just, can I go for game reliably? So swing with Nappa. He didn't really give me the opportunity get the 5K combo with the Samoan, so I can go there. He doesn't give me the opportunity to be able to kind of push combo out here. He does that too quickly, but then realizing that he does that just kind of means that I shouldn't bother because he gets to 35K. Realistically, I could have done my board, but he had a couple of cards left in hand, could probably comboed out of it. So fine, he did that too quickly. I didn't get the opportunity. Realistically, I probably would have comboed out my entire hand here. So I mean, to my benefit, but unfortunately, I don't think it matters too much here. We do have a blocker, so it all depends on the top deck, right? The biggest thing is protecting ourselves from this 35K lead swing. So protection, but he gets to draw, and that's the difference here. Notice how my hand size just dwindled and dwindled and dwindled when I awoke. And that's the biggest thing, is that unfortunately, by the time you're awakened with Broly, if you're not in a position to draw bomb after bomb after bomb, you are in a very painful position. And it's just trying to mitigate that. And the fact that you're not always consistently hitting your bombs as you go off and do your thing is what makes it troublesome. Either way, we do protect ourselves from the Vegeta. And then it's like, what does he have next? There's a couple of threats I can push up. You know, if he's only seeing boos or things that are like 20K, I can deal with that. I'm a 25K lead. I should probably have enough combo power to make that not terrible. But he has a Gohan. A 3 cost 35K is a very big number here. Hopefully he doesn't have too much combo power, but we do see the 10, 20, 30 here, or 25, unfortunately. Or yeah, 25. And unfortunately, we just do not have that. We get close, swing in for a large, hefty amount, but unfortunately, we just do not get there with our super combo and Paragus. But close game, again, I think with some sequencing on my part. And I think that's what I love about Dragon Ball. And I still feel this with Fusion World. It felt like I lost the game because it was my fault. And I absolutely do love that. So with that said, that was the game. Let's jump into some post wrap up. As we saw there, naturally the game was a little bit tough for me. I think early game, I managed that fine. I had a big hand size. Nothing was going too shifty. But once I awoken, it was totally different game day, right? I'm losing cards in hand, and while Brian's using cards in hand, he never really has to use a card to be able to threaten damage into me. I don't as well once I got Broly, and I think that's why I probably should have attacked a turn earlier, because then it would have given them the less opportunity to be able to maybe draw an out, which he's drawing 2 cards a turn between his draw phase, his leader, and then anything else that he might have in terms of being able to draw cards, whereas I'm losing cards in hand every single turn, or I'm just cycling or trying to find. And I think that's the biggest issue with Broly. I think he's an inconsistent deck, unfortunately, because of the way ramp plays. You need a lot of consistency to make sense between balancing cards that do nothing but ramp you versus cards that are do well. So I think, you know, Turles would have made completely different game, because then I could swing with crits at 30K, which is enough to force cards out of hand, plus not actually give him cards if he was going to take the life. So that's just kind of where the difference is there. But regardless, I think I could have gone there Broly. Skill issue on my part, that's totally fine. But if you guys enjoy these style of videos, you guys should let me know in the comments down below. We filmed multiple of these, so we'll have multiple games throughout the week. Hope you guys enjoy that. And with that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one.